So, let us first talk about primary microplastics. We have several household products here, including personal care products and cosmetics, where primary microplastics are found in the form of microbeads. Then the second group of primary microplastics is microplastics in the form of raw material used to produce plastic products, such as tires, paints, textiles. I found research that showed that we produce and release about 1.5 million tons of primary microplastics annually. How much is that? 212 grams per year per capita, 43 plastic bags per person, 1 per week. However, it should be noted that these figures are averages. There are huge differences between regions, countries, and continents. In Africa, for example, this amount is so low that it could be equated with only 22 plastic bags, while in America, this amount is so much larger, it can be equated with an amount of somewhere around 150 bags per person, which is significantly more. But we, Europeans, are somewhere in this average, or a little above it, if we look per capita. In general, 7 most important sources of primary microplastics were identified. And, of course, one of the critical sources is tires. Others are synthetic fibers, synthetic textiles, ship coatings, road markings, personal care products, plastic pellets as raw material, and city dust. All these resources result from various activities, whether economy, household, or land and sea activities. So, the production of primary microplastics is fairly diffused. The microbeads may be among the polymers most often encountered in cosmetics and personal care products. The most common polymer materials comprising microplastics are polyethylene, polypropylene, polymethylmethacrylate, polyethylene terephthalate, polyethylene glycols of various masses. We find these synthetic polymers in facial cleansers, toothpaste, exfoliating creams, even in some makeup, powder, and similar. Plastics Europe estimates that around 6% of all liquid skincare products sold in Europe contain microplastics, most of which are polyethylene. Exciting research was also done at our school in Slovenia in 2019. We inspected toothpaste on the Slovenian market, and our study showed that as many as 52% of the toothpaste we took under review contained plastic components. As much as 66%, or even slightly more, were polyethylene glycols. Thus, in this sector of personal care products, microplastics that are intentionally added to products are critical and are also under review in terms of restrictive regulations. The latter will significantly limit or even ban the intake and use of microbeads in cosmetics in the future. Let's look now at raw materials. In this case, pellets, granules, fibers, flakes, and powder are used as source materials for producing plastic products. And the main sources of primary plastics from this source are caused by tire wear, abrasion and erosion, and then, of course, synthetic textiles fibers. Here I present another scheme prepared for the conservation of nature and natural resources as part of the research mentioned earlier. It is estimated that 15 to 31% of all plastics we find in oceans come from primary sources. This means that most plastics in the oceans are still macroplastic products. You see here different bottles, bags, and so on. A larger share, 1/3 of primary microplastics, comes from synthetic textile fibers and almost 30% from traffic or tires. Personal care products contribute around 2% of primary microplastics. This study also showed that most, even more than 95% of primary and secondary microplastics and macroplastic waste in oceans are caused by land-based activities and transcended via various routes. For example, 60% of microplastics are treated through wastewater systems, and about 1/4 of this plastic is transferred to the oceans. When used and worn out, the primary microplastics are washed into our environment via wastewater, treatment plants, and road drains. The International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources has also conducted research worldwide. They took 7 geographic regions and evaluated their contributions of primary microplastics to the total emissions of plastics or microplastics to the environment and calculated primary microplastics contributions to global pollution. The results showed that this percentage was almost 20% in India and South Asia, while in South America, Africa, and the Middle East, it reached 8 to 10%. This research from the International Federation is also freely available, so if anyone is interested in these things, they can also read them online. Maybe just this example, which is very close to us. In Germany, a survey was conducted in 2018 and found that the contribution of each inhabitant to pollution by primary microplastics is as much as 2,435 grams. Germany is one of the largest producers, the member states of the European Union, which needs plastics, and I have prepared this here to make it easier for you to imagine. 2,435 grams, imagine 2 originally packed bags of sugar and half a liter of sugar next to it. It is this quantity that has been defined in Germany. Interestingly, a larger share, as much as half of this microplastic was attributed to the use of tires, their wear and tear, abrasions of tires, which is the result of heavy traffic in this area.